So apparently my parents talk about a lot of heavy stuff on their podcast. Listen at your own discretion. Like, comment, subscribe, and share or whatever. Anyways, welcome to Sobriety.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm Ryan. This is Jess. We are sober as fuck. Before we get to today's guest, I do want to remind everybody to please make sure you like, subscribe, review, comment, all the things on the podcast. Share. Also, you can watch the podcast, check out merch, blogs, all the good stuff, and all our monthly challenges on our website, safpodcast.com. That's safpodcast.com.
Now say that again 5 more times, just like that.
I'm done. That was it.
I always think that the intros are so funny because I almost feel like we need to make a song out of it, like a subscribe, share,
a little
comment.
Jingle.
Like when you say it, I always just little head bob because it's like a rhythm in my head, you know? So if anybody knows how to
add
write
that
music,
to your plate. Another thing for you to come up with a little jingle.
We were talking about that before we started recording, and I'm like, I'm tired. Mama is tired. Okay. I'm tired.
I understand.
I do it all.
You do it all. I give you credit for it.
I need to get
You're
paid.
Amazing.
I need to get paid. It doesn't even have to be money. It can be in goodies.
I feel like you get paid well with goodies.
What kind of goodies?
All the goodies.
All the goodies. Okay, Sierra, my goodies.
That's right.
You're insane.
Oh,
I do. I get paid in freedom.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't bother me.
Yeah,
go away. I don't know.
There it is.
We're all in this together, I guess.
That's right.
Who do we have today, Ryan?
Today's guest is Dave Wilson. I've been following Dave for quite a while. He comes to us from the UK, which is really cool. So he's a little ahead of us. I guess it's way in the afternoon for him today.
Sober Dave, right, is what he's known as.
That's what he goes by on Instagram. Is Sober Dave. His podcast is called One for the Road. It is a great podcast. You definitely want to check it out. He actually wrote a book with the same title. One for the Road. Dave's been sober, a very long 7 years. I think he's been.
That's amazing.
Yeah, a little over 7 years.
That's amazing.
But everything on his Instagram, you got to check him out. You got to follow him and make sure you check out the podcast. He's had some really cool guests on there, which I'm sure he'll tell us all about. And I can't wait to hear his story and for you to hear his story. So let's please welcome to the show, Dave Wilson.
Hi, how are you both doing?
Hey Dave, how are you, buddy?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I was going to interrupt and do some marriage counselling on you with that.
We like to haze each other.
I like free counseling, so I'm all good for that.
That's all right. Let's have a little session together.
Oh, yeah. Right. I always tease him because I'm I'm a real estate agent, but the podcast has become my full-time job, and that's what I want. But I always just tease him. I'm like, you can't do any of this without me. Are you kidding? But I can't do any of it without him either. I just don't like to tell him that sometimes.
Lovely to see you both.
You too.
It's
We're
great
so
to see
excited.
You. Yeah. And thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it, Dave.
Yes.
Pleasure.
So let's get right into it before, actually, why don't you tell us about you, what you do now,
your book,
your podcast,
Instagram.
book, where everybody can find you.
Well, yeah, I'm known as Sober Dave on everything, really. And I got sober 7 years ago, and I created this name. I actually bought the name from a guy in America, actually, because I had this really long handle and no one could pronounce it and that. So I looked on Instagram and found Sober Dave, and this dude was literally had about 12 followers and it wasn't active. So I sent him a message and offered him, I don't know, $100 or whatever, and he snapped my hand off. So that's how I got the name Sober Dave, which has served me well since. But yeah, since getting sober, I've written a sort of a memoir, but a help book as well. And also my podcast come from a thought I had in the bathroom after about a year of being sober. And I thought, I might do a podcast. I knew nothing about it at all, literally nothing. And my first episode went to number 2 in the Apple charts,
Whoa.
which was incredible. But that was back in the day. Things have changed a lot in the last few years on social media, podcasts. There's lots around now, but in those days there weren't. And I was very lucky with the guest. And since then, I haven't looked back, and I just love doing it like you guys.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
rewarding work. I love it. I mean, we joke all the time, but like I worked in nonprofit healthcare for 12 years. And so I am a humanitarian at heart, and this definitely scratches that itch. And we both we love all of our guests, and we've heard so many stories, and the feedback is amazing. It definitely feeds your soul. I'm sure that you would agree with that.
Yeah, and probably like yourselves, I got a message the other day from a guy in Alaska. He was in the middle of nowhere, no one around for 10 miles or so. And he said, I listen to your podcast every episode and it
Wow.
keeps me in touch with humanity. And, you just think when you record these, I don't know if you feel the same, but it's a global reach, isn't it? And I get messages from all over the world and from people who've heard episodes 5 years ago, and it's changed their direction in their sobriety and that, and we're very lucky because it's something we love doing, but it helps so many people as well. So we're lucky in what we do, really, aren't we?
Yeah, that's what I say. It's like, every time we do a podcast, if it just helps that one person,
Yeah.
it's that's all you've asked for. Really.
And people all over the place, like even from in our daughter's school, or I walked into a fast food restaurant and just grabbed like a soda, and someone commented I had like athleisure on, and she said, you look so fit. What's your secret? And I said, well, I quit drinking and got my mind right and started therapy. And a girl came all the way from the very back to shake my hand because she said, I celebrate 1 year tomorrow. And I said, good job. I mean, it's just those moments are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly
Especially
agree.
for people that feel a little bit on their own with it, like quite a lot of people say to me, it's the feeling they don't fit in. But I often say there are so many people stopping now and exploring sobriety as well. It's not such a thing anymore, is it? When you say, "Oh, I don't drink anymore," now it's more like, "Oh, good for you," rather than "What's wrong with you, weirdo?"
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You even go out places, and there are so many like non-alcoholic options too. Like I've started seeing that on
or the mocktail menus.
Or like mocktail menu. I mean, we really are embracing it. Like our daughter's 15, and there's good and bad with each generation, but I see less and less of like the party stigma that was really prevalent for a long time, which is very hopeful, I will say.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, before you became Sober Dave, give us a little story behind Dave Wilson, the man, what you did, how you changed your relationship with alcohol, what happened there, what got you to be Sober Dave.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in the 70s, 80s. So I was born in 1964. So I'm officially probably the oldest person on social media. But yeah, so we lived in a place called Croydon in South London. And we didn't have a lot of money. Dad was a lorry driver. My mum worked in a factory. And it was always secondhand clothes and holidays in a tent. But it was okay. We didn't really know any different then. And it was a wholesome upbringing, really. It was like there was a lot of love, but it was different back then. I think we're a lot more emotional these days. We talk about things more, don't we? We talk about feelings and emotions and ADHD and autism isn't a stigma anymore. And, we're a lot more aware of mental health now. So what I mean about is quite a wholesome upbringing was I remember Dad being in the garage clonking away with something in the vice and Mum in the kitchen cooking and the record player was playing with the Carpenters on and it just felt safe. But when I got a bit older, I noticed my mum and dad were arguing a lot more. And And they decided we were going to move. But where you might say to your 15-year-old daughter now, we're thinking about moving, what do you think of the house? This is the schools available. You have that conversation. Back in those days, we were told we're moving this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd lived there all my life. I was about 12 and I'd made all my friends there. And I basically had to say goodbye to all my friends that I'd known all my life and start in this whole new area. I didn't know anyone, and start in the second year of secondary school. And I was terrified, and I wasn't really streetwise. And I remember walking into this classroom and there was all these big lads with their arms folded, looking me up and down like, who the hell's this dickhead? And I was standing there terrified, and I didn't really fit in with that kind of bloke. Do you know what I mean? And I really struggled for weeks on end of going to school every day. I was really nervous and I didn't make a lot of friends, but the arguments carried on. And I think in hindsight, they'd moved to try and solve their marriage and it didn't work. And there were a lot of slamming doors, a lot of shouting downstairs when I was in bed. And it's all really unsettling. But one day I came down and there was an envelope on the table. And it was from my mum, and it said she'd left my dad, but there was no discussion, no, information where she was going. And back in those days, there was no social media, internet, mobile phones, nothing. So I didn't know really what it meant. And I went to school, bit numb, come home, and my dad had his head in his hands, and he'd received a similar letter. And then he had to try and bring me and my sister up. I was 14, my sister was 15. He wasn't domesticated or anything like that. And so the next year or so was an absolute car crash. And these lads kind of found out and they wanted to take me under their wing. And they kept knocking on the door. And my dad would answer and it's Dave coming out. And I'm like, Dad, tell him I'm ill, tell him I'm not in, because I was terrified. Because they were always fighting and they had loads of girlfriends. And I was just a little bit of, I was just quiet and shy, and it wasn't my thing fighting or anything like that anyway. One day I heard a woman giggling downstairs and I thought, my mum's come back. So I ran down the stairs and it was another woman, and it was quite clear that she didn't really like me being around. She was rolling the eyes and tutting and that. And then one night I said, what's wrong? What have I done something wrong? And she said, I just want some privacy with your dad. And I looked at my dad for him to stand up for me, and he just walked away. And I just felt this horrible feeling of rejection, first from my mum, because it's almost like if your mum leaves you, anyone can leave you. Do you know what I mean? But then from my dad. And I remember leaving the house and bursting out crying. And it wasn't long after that when these lads come round again, I said, well, what is there to lose? I might as well go for it. And we went up the shops and they'd either found some money down the side of the sofa or pinched it off their mum or dad. And we're giving it to the parents to buy booze from the off license. And then there was my first can of lager. So I downed that. Oh, that's all right, actually. Second one. And they were like, well, actually, Dave, you were all right, mate. You're really funny. So I become the joker in the pack. I wasn't the fighter. I wasn't confident around girls. But when I had a drink, I was the funny one. And it became my kind of identity of, blimey, this makes me feel part of something, accepted, And it kind of started from there. And I remember from the beginning that I was a bit of an animal, really. I would drink a hell of a lot more than them. And I was often the one getting drunk, passing out, even at 15. And then back in those days, we didn't have ID. We didn't need it to go in the pubs. And I remember going in the pubs and looking at these older men that had come in with their vans, and they were going in and having pints at the bar and a roll up. And I was like, God, that's what it's like to be a man. They become my role models, like playing pool and being really funny at the bar. And I fitted in really well. So they almost become like role models to me. And I was into a lot of sport as well. So it was that work hard, play hard mentality. And I kind of carried on like that through my 20s, really. And it wasn't really any different from a lot of teenagers, early 20s drinking, where you're going out clubbing at the weekend, getting smashed. And then in the week, you just go to work and don't drink. But it was when I was 28, I bought a flat, and my neighbour, I heard him fall down the stairs, like the communal block of flats. So it was the stairs outside, and he cut his face. So I helped him up and I bandaged him up and that. And the next night he knocked on the door and said, "Do you want to come down the pub? I'll buy you a few beers for helping me." And well, that is when I become a different drinker, because I fitted in like a glove. They were all workmen, and I was in the carpet trade then, and I become Dave the Carpet. And my justification was, I'm getting loads of work from the pub, which is paying for my drinking. So I was justifying the cost. But it wasn't long after that I become Glugs, because I would drink really quickly. So where they were just sipping on a pint, I was down in a pint, getting another one in, and I could have 6 pints easily within an hour. And then one day someone said to me, "Are you an alcoholic, Dave?" And it crippled me. I was like, "What? Like, I'm just having a few beers with the lads, you know. What do you mean?" "Well, you always piss, mate." And I was like, "Am I?" And I went home, and I'm quite sensitive, right? So I went home and I was thinking about it. I was thinking, am I an alcoholic? So I went online and I read all what that means. It's like, I'm not that bad. I'm not drinking a bottle of whiskey under a bridge, you know. But I started to taper my drinking in the pub to make out I was all right. But I was buying booze from the off license to take home. And there's this cider called Diamond White, and it was 8.4%, or 8.2 or 8.4.
Whoa.
So I started drinking that at home. And I thought, this is great, because I can get drunk and no one's judging me, you know. So I started that. So everyone in the pub thought I was all right, not a problem. But I was actually every morning getting up with a stinking hangover. And it kind of escalated from there. But I started to put on weight. I was getting acid reflux because the cider was really gassy. So again, the power of Google. What alcohol is the least calories, and up come vodka, and I thought, I'm not going near that. That's just lethal. So I started drinking wine, and I had a deal on that at the time, 3 bottles for 10 quid in the supermarket. So I thought, that lasts 3 nights. That's cheaper than going to the pub. But I started drinking 1, then it was 1.5, then it was 2. Before I knew it, I was drinking 3. Terrible hangovers, you know, highly functional. I was going to work, I was doing my estimates, I was doing everything, but I was always like hungover or drunk. So I remembered the Googling of the vodka. So I thought, maybe if I just stuck to half a bottle of vodka a night, that would do the job. Because I put on a load of weight by it then as well, because the dodgy eating and the amount I was drinking. So I bought a half bottle of vodka, and it lasted literally 40 minutes. So I thought, all right, I'll get a bottle and I'll just try and take it easy. But that lasted 2 hours. So I ended up drinking a litre of vodka a night for years. And as you can imagine, that's when it really changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. What, like, so I know that you had like one moment where someone asked if you were an alcoholic. And from my experience, just hearing everybody's story and, you know, there's a moment where you have that little tingle that you feel like something's wrong, but it's not the moment that actually causes you to stop, right? Like you said, that's what starts the mental gymnastics of how can I do this, but it not look like I'm doing this? What was it that made you say, no more? Like I'm done. I'm not living like this anymore.
Well, there's much more to my story. So I was living on my own then, right? And I got approached by the TV to appear on a makeover show called DIY SOS in the UK. And one of my first thoughts was, how can I do that if it means I can't drink the night before? I was seriously considering not doing it because I thought, I'm going to have a night without drinking. That's really depressing. So I thought, right, I'll try and moderate. And of course I didn't. I turned up at the show and all the cameras were there and it went really well, actually. And it was a nightmare. That I had to do this kid's bedroom in carpet tiles and they were all different colours. And Julia Kendall put this plan on the wall. She said, right, that's what we want. I'm looking at it thinking, why wasn't it just a simple carpet? This is a nightmare. I'm still hanging from last night. Anyway, I did it all. And then I put it on my website. And 2 weeks later, ITV contacted me and said to me, would you like to come for an interview to be the full-time carpet fitter on the show 60-Minute Makeover, right? Same again. Oh, God, the interview's at 10 in the morning. Means I won't be able... As you say about these mental gymnastics, Jess, you know what I mean? You're always thinking around how you're going to fit it in. Anyway, I went for the interview and I remember being in Covent Garden in London and my phone went and I thought this could change my life. And it was a girl called Laura and she said, hi, Dave, thanks for coming along. We would love you to be on the team of the show. My first thought was, oh, my God, I'm going to have to change all my drinking. And I almost said, actually, I've had to think about it and I don't want to do it. Which is mad because it's such a fantastic opportunity. But I said, yeah, let's go. The week later, I'm going to the set and they're all meeting the night before. And I'm thinking, God, I'm going to have to really slow my drinking down. I don't know anyone. And I got there and it was a little bit clicky in the beginning. But after a while, when the drink started flowing, it was all right. 2 o'clock in the morning, we got in. And I thought, well, this is right up my sleeve. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this is brilliant. Every night that week, we went out to clubs and I thought, this is it. I'm the same as everyone else. It was fantastic. Every morning we were on camera being filmed and we were all hungover and laughing about it and saying, God, you stink of booze, Dave. Yeah, you do as well. It was a real kind of collaboration of working hard. The days were really long, but the nights were long as well. And towards the end of about 6-7 years, a girl come home that we'd done her house. And I don't know if you know Peter Andre, but he was the host. And I said to Pete, she's a bit of a riot, isn't she? And he went, yeah, go on, get in there. Anyway, we went home and about 3 months later, it was all over social medias. And I found the girl we did the house for and I sent her a message. And somehow the charm of Dave got a date with her, right? And then I thought, how can I go on a date with her? Because I'm going to have to taper my drinking. So again, the mental gymnastics and, anyway, we'd arranged it. I thought I'm just going to have to deal with it. But a day before our first date, we'd been chatting and that. And I sent her a message on the Friday. And we have a thing over in the UK called Christmas Jumper Day. That it's just before Christmas. We'll wear a stupid jumper. And I said to her, send me a picture of your Christmas jumper. And I didn't hear it all day. And I thought, well, that's gone down like a chocolate teapot. Anyway, she messaged me about 8 o'clock that night. And she said, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to cancel tomorrow. And I said, okay. And she said, I've been diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was like, oh, my God. I was drinking then, and I said, well, what can we do? And she said, look, you can walk away. And I said, well, I don't want to walk away. It was mad, really, because I didn't even know her. But my instinct was to support her. And on the Tuesday, we were in the hospital. She was having the cold cap put on, having all the wires put in and whatever to have chemo. And that's how we got to know each other. And then it went all national press. We were in the papers. We was on the Lorraine show, a TV show, talking about it. We become a bit of a celebrity couple, really. I sold my house, moved in, but 6 weeks prior to selling my house, it went through so quickly. It was like a miracle sale. There was no chain my end, no chain her end. So it just went through. 6 weeks before, it's like, I've got to stop drinking because I can't move in. She had 4 kids. She had triplets as well. Triplets and an older son. I cannot enter that house the way I am now. every night it was like, oh, I'll do it again tomorrow. I'll start again tomorrow. I'll start again tomorrow. Week before, exactly the same. So I ended up moving in, and she presented me with a lovely key, and like, this is a key to our home. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't drink tonight. Like, it was awful, really, because I should have been so happy, but I wasn't. I was like, I didn't know what to do. And I went cold turkey. So when I was saying I was drinking that amount, it could have killed me, really, because, you know, I could have had a seizure or anything. And I went cold turkey for about 5 days, and then it was the weekend, and it's like, oh, should we have a bottle of wine? And so we had a drink, and then it kind of started me off. And then it was on the Tuesday, I was like, oh, should we have a bottle of wine? What, on a Tuesday? Yeah, it's, you know, the sun's out, and, you know, it wasn't long before the cracks started to show. So it's a new relationship, really. I mean, we've been together for 10 months, but new-ish to move in with a family, you know. And I started hiding booze, started lying about how much I'd had. Like, she would meet me from work, and I'd say I've just got in here and I'd already had 6 pints. And yeah, it really started to disintegrate, and we had lots of arguments, and I had lots of regrets because I'd sold my house. And you just can't do that. You can't enter a family home with that kind of drinking problem, you know. I tried to stop a few times, but I was just day counting and had no structure around it, no plans. I wasn't really doing it properly. I was just going through the motions because I was doing it for her, really, because she was saying, you've got to stop drinking. And I realise now, and as you guys do, you have to want to stop drinking. And I didn't want to stop drinking. I was doing it because I was told to stop drinking. I had several rock bottoms, like several, but the worst year was 2018, and we were married by then. And it was Easter, and we had a massive row. And I stormed off down the south coast because I love the sea. So I just drove to the sea, dumped the van off somewhere, and went on the pier. And I went to buy a pint of Peroni at 10:30 in the morning or something. And they said, oh, it's a minimum card payment of 14 quid or something. So I said, all right, I'll have 3 Peronis then. So there's me, 10:30 in the morning, with families with their little kids walking around the pier. And I've got 3 pints of Peroni around me on my own. Drank them, went to a pub and sat there all day and got drunk, made some fake friends, as you do. And then I looked at the sky, and all the stars were out, and I was really drunk by then. I must have had 16 odd pints of Stella or whatever it was. And I thought, you know, I hadn't even booked a hotel because I just didn't care. I'd just gone down there on a mission. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to sit on the beach and look at the stars and listen to the sea. And I bought a bottle of vodka from the supermarket, and I don't know how it got served. And I spent 5 nights doing that, living rough. And I went psychotic because what I failed to say was I was on antidepressants, and the doctor had prescribed double dose a week before this happened because they weren't working. He didn't even ask me whether I was drinking or anything. It was just, oh, we're double dose. And I think I went psychotic. And it was awful. 5 days rough. I didn't have no phone. Lucky I had a debit card on me. Otherwise, I don't know what I'd have done. And somehow got home, walked in, cuddled my wife, but it wasn't my wife. It was the cleaner. I was so out of my head still that I said, I'm so sorry. And she's going, what are you doing? Get off me. Get off me. And it's a bloody cleaner. But honestly, like, I laugh about it now, but that was just dreadful. And in that year, a builder had taken £25,000 off us and done a runner. And my mum became ill, and she died. And I was with her when she died. And it was that moment in the October 2018, I thought, what am I doing? Like for probably a year, I've been saying I've got to sort this out. But that was that moment when my mum died, and I thought, I'm just killing myself. Like this is just a joke now. I didn't even know who I was, you know. And I suppose really that was when I really started to like really think about what I needed to do for the first time, really, because as I say, all those other times were half-assed attempts, you know.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Man, so it's getting towards the end of 2018, and I know like your sober date's 19. So what did you do? Did you try moderating for a little while, or did you find
No,
a
no, I started
program? What
so
was it
well.
you?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, right, and this is important for people to hear this. I stopped in January on the 7th, 2019, and it looked like spontaneous sobriety, like I'd literally that day decided to stop drinking, but it wasn't.
Mhm.
I'd been saying for a long time in my head and out loud, I have got to sort this out. I've got to stop drinking. And what I was doing was planting little seeds all the time, edging my way towards D-Day, right? So I went through Christmas and I realised the family had done a slight intervention at the Christmas table because there was about 10 of us with one bottle of wine on the table, right? And I was thinking, well, that's mine. Where's your lot?
Yeah.
Like, and I was thinking, well, this is going to be the worst Christmas in the world because this is terrible. And then New Year, I remember getting really drunk. And then it was on the 7th of January, I got a text message from a friend. And I mean, he could have said, Dave, you look absolutely diabolical, mate, and your marriage is ruined and your life is just a wreck. But he said, how would you like to join me for 3 months to take a break from alcohol to see how you feel? Right. So he framed it completely differently, but it was I think it was a Monday morning, and I was driving to work with a hangover. And I looked at it and thought, I can't even stop for 3 days, let alone 3 months, right? A limiting belief. But throughout the day, I started to think about, I wonder how my life will be in 3 months. I wonder how my relationship will be, my health, my mental health, my sleep, my weight, my relationship with our kids, like all of it. It started to imagine winding my life forward for 3 months, and I started to feel excited about it. So I messaged him, and this bloke is never in ever. He does a lot of work with the church and whatnot, and he's like never in. And I said, are you in about half an hour? Can I come and see you? And he said, I am. And I often wonder if he would have said, no, I'm out, what I would have done then, because I probably wouldn't have been here. I'd actually probably be dead, right? Because I would have got some booze, because I remember the England game was on that night as well. But anyway, I went to see him, and as soon as I saw him, I knew that was it. So I shook his hand, walked out. My neighbour come over, and he said to me, fancy a few beers tonight? The England game's on. I said, I don't drink. And he went, oh, yeah, all right. And I said, no, I'm having a break, mate. I've had a word with peers, and I'm knocking on the head for now. I went in and told my wife, and she was like, yeah, whatever. Because it's the boy cry wolf, isn't it? I've done it so many times.
Mm-hmm.
But from that day, I've never had a drink since, ever. 7 years ago. And it was because he collaborated with me. He framed it in a way that he was going to support me. He didn't shame me. He didn't tell me to stop drinking. He said, how do you fancy joining me? Which took away the problem from me, and it made such a difference how he said that. And we started, like, I walked to his garage at 6 a.m, and we had these things you put the back wheel of your bike on, and you could cycle for an hour in his garage, and we would just chat and talk things over. Started eating differently, and I started with my dodgy Instagram name. I made an account, and because I'm quite straightforward, I'm quite what you see is what you get. People started messaging me and saying, "Oh, you're an inspiration, Dave, and how have you done it?" And as you know yourselves, like when people come to you for help and you give back, it makes you feel good, doesn't it? Because it makes you feel
Oh,
like,
yeah.
do you know what? I want you to have a bit of what I got. And it started from there, really. And I wrote the book, which was quite difficult to do because it brought up a lot of stuff I've forgotten about, and actually really talking about it is quite painful in the beginning. Now I'm used to it, but in the beginning it was quite difficult. But what I did realize is the thing is with stopping drinking, it makes you realize what you want and what you don't want. And what it did uncover was our marriage was in trouble, a lot of trouble. And eventually, after a couple of years, we separated, and I moved out basically with a carrier bag. And yeah, it was really challenging, even after 2 years of sobriety, you know, and I didn't really have anywhere to live. So I stayed in hotels and until I could find somewhere. And it's proof that sobriety isn't just a straight line, you know, it's up and down. It's never linear, is it? And I had to go through that. And since my sobriety, I've moved 7 times. I've had another relationship that ended out of the blue. I had no idea that it was going to end, and that was a real shock to me. But people say, "Oh my God, Dave, it's amazing you never drink." And I say, well, it's because I don't want to. I don't want to drink. And that's the difference. It's not like, oh, do you know what? I've really struggled. I've worked so hard on myself now that I just do not want that in my life anymore. It doesn't interest me whatsoever. And that's how I'm going to be from now. It was a love affair that I fell out with love with a long time ago, and then I divorced it. And there was grief in it. And not a lot of people talk about the grief when you give up drinking, but I was in a 40-year relationship with it.
Yeah.
You know, so how am I not going to grieve the loss? You know, you know, I always talk about it in a way like a narcissistic relationship because it's toxic, right? In the morning, it's swearing at you, telling you a fat idiot and whatever. And in the afternoon, it's love bombing you. Oh, I didn't mean it. You're handsome. You're lovely. Right. Come on, let's have some time together. And it woos you over again. And then you regret it again. And it's that cycle of doom, isn't it? And, you know, I'm quite a visual person. So I look at it quite differently from some people. I don't look at it like a glass of vodka. I look at it as a partner that I've divorced. And it kind of really helps me to stay where I am, I suppose, you know?
Yeah.
It's so funny that you say that, not literally funny, but like, so it started with, you know, when you're in a marriage, we had been married for 13 years. He got sober. I always had been able to moderate by all accounts. You know, I could drink, not drink, whatever. And so when we first started working out some of those things we had been through, because you have to address, you know, the bad moments, we decided to address them by talking about that version of him as my ex-husband, because it really was no longer him, right? That's something that alcohol addiction, it changes your brain chemistry. So we did that, number one, because then it didn't feel so much like an attack, like you did this. We were able to discuss these things and really work through them without it feeling so heavy. And it was also funny, right? Like we would make little jokes and I would say, gosh, my ex-husband, I remember when he did that and he's like, I hate that dick. Like, God, he was the worst, you know? And it just lightened the load a little bit. And then it'll be 2 years, June 1st. We were on vacation with our daughter. He had been sober,
A little over a year.
A little over a year. And he didn't mind if I drank. He's like, you know, my sobriety is my responsibility. That people are going to be drinking around me. And I ordered a drink poolside and I drank it. And the next day I just had I only had one. I had a headache and my stomach was hurting. And I just had this realization that why am I doing this? Like, it's not fun. I'm getting older. I don't metabolize alcohol well. Like, I'm going to take a break. And so I took a break from it. And I really didn't even realize it had been like 6 months since I had a drink. And he pointed it out. And I began, same as you, to think about it as more of a true relationship, because everybody talks about the relationship with alcohol. And I realized through therapy, this is not something I did on my own, but I realized that I never want to drink again, ever. Because even though I was not a blackout or even daily drinker, even though my drinking didn't produce anything. I mean, well, it did produce negative stuff, but that's for a whole other conversation. It never, from what society would deem, did anything bad or negative. It had abused so many people in my life and about taken from me a life and people I love so much. And I tell people, let's say that you have, us as a couple, we have another couple that we've been friends with. We've been best friends for years and years and years. We do everything together. We're, go on vacation, all the things. And one of them comes to us and says they're divorcing because the other one had been abusing them the whole time. They just didn't say anything. Well, do you remain friends with the abuser? Or do you separate? And that's not a rhetorical question. Some people may remain friends with the abuser saying, oh, well, they've never done anything bad to me. But in my mind, I don't want to be amicable or friendly with anyone or anything that has threatened the life and well-being of the people I've cared about. So I just had this moment where I said, like you, I'm breaking up with alcohol because it's an abuser. It's an abuser. My brother suffered with addiction. My mom, it has about taken everything that I love and adore, even if I never took a sip of it. So I don't want to partake in that. And June 1st will be 2 years for me. And I tell people that, and that is, we always say we're not missionaries for sobriety, right? Like we're not going out there telling everybody. But we're going out there telling everyone, but we're not telling people what to do.
Yeah.
But for people who notice, like, we were the couple that nobody wanted to hang out with because they're like, Ryan will get drunk and Jess will get mad. And, my drinking amped up with his drinking because if you can't beat him, join him, right? And eliminating all of that, we were scared. Like you said, like we didn't know each other sober. He didn't know himself sober. What if he didn't like himself? What if we didn't like each other? Now, luckily that didn't happen. We fell more in love, but some of our best memories are from when we were drinking. And it is grieving because even if you're leaving an abusive relationship or you're breaking up with anything, that's a part of who you are. So does that mean that I'm not authentically me anymore because I'm letting go of this? And naturally your brain gravitates towards familiarity because it's comfortable. Even if you know it's going to hurt, it's predictable. And I love that you bring that up. And I love that you also bring up how, it's not just, oh, I got sober 7 years ago and it's been hearts and butterflies and flowers. I mean, there are moments that are like that, but then there are these introspective moments where you question things and learning to experience through them. My mom died 2 years ago and my brother, he'd been sober for a while and he looked at me with crying eyes and he said, I don't want to use, I don't want to drink. This is the worst pain I've ever felt, but I want to feel every bit of it. That's powerful. And it's kind of like what you said, no, I don't want to do that. I mean, no matter how bad it gets, I don't want to do that because that just makes everything worse, doesn't it? It most certainly doesn't make anything better. So I love how you touch on the realistic moments throughout sobriety too, because yeah, from the outside looking in, you can watch our podcast, you can watch yours, and we make it look, for all accounts, so easy. But in some ways, it's the easiest thing you'll ever do. And in other ways, it is the hardest thing you'll ever do because you have to like put that mirror up and be like, oh, shit, that was me.
That grieving process is, I think, something everybody has to go through.
Oh, yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, I looked at my sobriety as I had a mistress and my mistress was alcohol and gambling. Although I didn't cheat on my wife, I was because like you said, the mental gymnastics you go through of hiding it, secret drinking.
You even admitted that you would
out.
like deliberately ruin like vacations or like I bought concert tickets for him for his birthday.
I could stay home and drink because I didn't want to. I didn't want to leave the house and cause a scene or something crazy. It's just that grieving process. I think is very, very important as you know.
It's huge. I think a lot of people struggle with identity. Because it becomes our badge of honor, doesn't it? Like I was quite loud, I'd walk in a pub and it'd be Glugsy.
Yeah.
And I'd walk out and they'd probably call me the C word, do you know what I mean? Because
that's
got what they needed from me. And, and I look at it like having a 40-year prison sentence. And when I come out, everything is different. And I think, right, I've been institutionalized for 40 years and I know how it all works, right? And now I've stopped drinking. It's like leaving prison. You've got to start a whole new life. And what does that look like? And we all like comfort, don't we? Even though it's uncomfortable with what we have to endure through drinking and the arguments and the hangovers, there's still a comfortability about it. And you either rob the bank and go back in, or you make a life. And you know, it is hard. I never like to pull the wool over people's eyes, but it is life changing and amazing. But you need to push through the beginning, right? Which is like learning to drive. You need to learn all the technical parts of going through cravings, triggers, all of that stuff. Associations, romanticizing. Once you've done that, you hit emotional sobriety, where you start to wonder who the hell you are, right? And even what you were saying, Jess, about being in a relationship, because when you're drinking, you go away for weekends and it's all around drinking, isn't it? It's all around, you know, what time we can have a drink lunchtime, and or, you know, should we have a drink on the balcony and overlook
Our
the pool
wedding.
and whatever. Yeah. So, but then all of a sudden, especially if one of you's not drinking, it changes the dynamic. So there is a lot of work, but I don't know a single sober person who regrets getting sober, and I genuinely mean that. I genuinely mean that. So it's worth the gold at the end of it, and it never ends, because I know people who are 15 years and they're struggling, but you adapt more, you learn. You know, I had something happen at Christmas where I saw some guys walking in a pub, and it's like, oh my God, Friday afternoon, 3:00, they're on it, and they're saying goodbye reality. But I thought, well, all right, but what's it going to be like tomorrow? What's it going to be like when they get home tonight? You know, and I snap out of it really quickly now because I've got used to doing it. So you adapt to it better. But I mean, my life is totally changed in every single area, area, physically, mentally, career. I've changed complete career. Like everything has changed. Guess what? I highly recommend it.
That's right.
Yes, 10 out of 10. And to touch for a second, you know, when I said that I didn't have, you know, I didn't have a problem with alcohol, I say that like from the outside looking in, something that I had to deal with, because I started a mental health journey before he got sober, because I had a lot of family stuff. Again, story for another day. But when I finally quit drinking, surprisingly enough, my medication started working better. Imagine that. And through therapy, I learned that I did have a problem with alcohol, because I remember it getting to a point where if he would go and get drunk, I'd be like, oh, well, he was an ass last night, so that means that I can do whatever I want for the next month or two. And in the moment, I thought, you know, I've earned that badge of honor. But coming out of it, I'm like, that's so manipulative. That's so toxic. Was making me a person that I didn't want to be either. And not because you were drinking, right? It's not your fault. I allowed it. I allowed myself to do that. In the moment, I blamed you, right? Well, you did this to me. And that's another big point too, is no longer living in that victimhood. Like, I thought, you're drinking, you're doing all these things, so I deserve this. No, there's no excuse. Or I would just get drunk with you, or we would have wine and do all these things. So when I say, you know, from the outside looking in, I didn't have a problem with alcohol. When you step back, whether it's alcohol or anything, you don't realize how much you are really drowning and how far down you have gone until you're like, whoa, I thought everything was okay. Like me, I've never gotten a DUI. I've never blacked out. I've never been mean to anybody. I've never done any of those things, right? I'm perfect, which is a lie. But looking back, I'm like, I don't even recognize that version of myself anymore. So in some accounts, it's very difficult for me to talk about my sobriety, because I don't have this big story. But at the same time, I love to share it, because listen, you may not think that you have those problems, but eliminating alcohol, going to therapy, coaching, whatever it is, It most certainly makes you a better version of yourself, and it definitely improves. It makes you more thoughtful. Everything you do, the music you listen to, the books you read, the people you surround yourself with, the way you eat, you start to take pride in those things, and it just stops, and you become so much more thoughtful about everything you do. Not that you're perfect. I mean, we can still be assholes. That's part of it. It's a human experience. But even on the days when maybe you're not the best version, you're really quick at the rebound to be like, look, I really, even us, I don't like the way I handled that. I don't like what I said to you. I don't like the way I handled that. So I want to do better next time. That's a huge win. I read somewhere, even as parents with children, the ability to apologize and admit, I didn't really like the way I was. That right there makes a huge difference all in and of itself. Just noticing I didn't like who I was in that moment, and I want to do better next
something
time.
then that I loved actually was about you don't have a big story, right? You don't have to have a big story.
Nope.
Like, let's not compare war stories
Exactly.
with each other, and say, do you know what? I was drinking a litre of vodka a night, and people might think, oh, well, I'm not as bad as him. I'm all right.
Exactly.
That's how I felt.
Yeah. But don't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, does alcohol make me feel bad? Like, do I get anxious in the night, 3 o'clock in the morning? Does it affect how I parent my kids? Does it affect my work, my mental health, my ability to get out and go for a run? If it's like, yes, then there's a problem, right? So just anyone, who there's all sorts of drinkers, aren't there? There's grey area drinkers, there's binge drinkers, there's daily drinkers like me. It doesn't really matter. If it's affecting you in a negative way, then it's time to look at it, surely.
And it took me so long to get there. Like even the first, I would say just within the past year, like 2 years of his sobriety, me, this, I was even hesitant about starting this podcast because like, oh, I don't have a story. It doesn't matter. You're so right. What does that mean?
It's like you don't have to have a rock bottom. You know what I mean? You don't.
Well, and I think too, so many people, it can be daunting because we still sort of have that, like you said, you have to meet this criteria to like wear this badge of honor that you're an alcoholic or whatever.
I'm not under a bridge drinking a liter of vodka or something, because that's what people used to associate it with. I don't think they do much anymore.
No, and sobriety is different for everybody. I always compare it to a cake, right? Like the base layer of it is the same, but what flavor, what texture, how you decorate it is on you, right? And I think I even learned that throughout doing this podcast and just hearing everybody's stories that this is not a competition. You're right. It's not about sharing war stories. It's about holding space for yourself and for others and recognizing that it's not even about sobriety. It's an overall mental health. It's an elevation, like the alcohol, the addiction. That is a symptom of the problem. Removing it helps to detox you so that you can be clear. But that's just step one. You talked about the emotional sobriety.
Yeah.
That's when you're like, oh shit, now I actually have to like
the real work starts.
figure out what's going on in there. And that's scary. And it took me, for anybody listening, it took me so long to be like, I belong here. Like, everybody's story is important and we should all hold space for each other.
Oh, own it.
So 100% agree with you. Yeah. It took me a while to get there.
Well done.
So Dave, if you have somebody that, does reach out to you and they're just kind of questioning, do I have a problem with alcohol? How do you challenge that person? Do you kind of go,
who says I don't know that I'm ready to quit.
I don't know if I'm ready to quit. Yeah. What kind of challenge do you kind of present to somebody? Do you go back to your grassroots?
No, not really. Because they might not relate to my story. So I just ask them a few questions of like how are there any gains? Right. So the gains are, we have to be real. Right, we can't hide away from the fact that it helps unwind us. If you've got a social event, it helps to, for you to go into an event and be a little bit more chilled and chatty and whatnot. And, it's a reward. There's the reward side of it. You might have had a hard week and gone, do you know what? I haven't had a drink all week. So it's Friday. I've got through a few meetings. Let's have a glass of wine. It could be seasonal with the summer barbecues, winter, Christmas. sitting by a log fire. You know, there's so many elements to it. But then I ask them lots of questions about how it affects their life negatively. You know, like how's the mental health? Is it obviously it costs financially, but the other costs are like your relationship and your parenting and your motivation. And there are so many ways alcohol can have a negative effect on your life. And I ask them to just reframe it all, really, because we feel so helpless sometimes when we're in that cycle of drinking, don't we? We have so many limiting beliefs that we tell ourselves, you know. Oh, I've tried many times and I always fail. I mean, there's a huge limiting belief there, you know, and most people think I'm boring. There's another one. So it's like address the limiting beliefs and reframe them. Who's boring, right? Both of you.
That's
Like
right.
being drunk at a party and saying the same joke and spitting over everyone, or listening, active listening, remembering it the next day, being present, driving home, spending time with the family. I mean, what is boring, really? You know, like I know what one I'd rather be. So,
Yeah.
and I try and remove the shame as well, because we feel a lot of shame around it because it's a conversation we don't like to have. If it's something else like caffeine, or I've stopped caffeine, oh, brilliant, well done. Or do you know what? I'm going on a sugar-free diet for a month because I feel like I want to lose weight. And oh my God, I wish I could give up the cake. I'm stopping vaping, I'm stopping smoking. You know, all these things we praise. We're stopping drinking. What? What's wrong with you? You know, so we don't actually talk about it a lot. There's a lot of shame. You know, I mean, I've got a big Instagram account, right? But on LinkedIn, it's terrible because it's LinkedIn's more like employer based, isn't it? So no one ever comments on my post because they don't want their boss to see that they might have an issue with drinking, right? So it goes to show what it's like in the workplace as well. And I remember approaching a bank to do a talk, and it was a big, massive UK bank. And they said, we don't have an issue with drinking in the workplace. And it's like, oh my God, you're so narrow-minded. Like,
Yeah.
Thursday's the new Friday. So Thursday lunchtime's boozing, Friday boozing, Monday morning hangovers, could be someone's birthday, they're out after work, and there's no problem in the workplace. Like productivity on a Thursday or Friday afternoon is going to be a lot less than a Wednesday morning. Do you know what I mean? So I try and reduce the shame and normalize that it's just such so like highly recommended in society that you have to drink to, it's so normalized is what I mean, you know. And we have to get away from that story, like, because we see advertising everywhere. It's in films, it's in documentaries, it's in series, isn't it? Everyone drinking all the time, and it's normalized, and it's not normal. It's a poison, and it ruins lives. And you know, I talk to partners of, and their lives have been shattered by their, you know, partners who have ended up dead or living in a box room somewhere, and children of alcoholics, adult children of alcoholics I talk to, you know, they're fabulous charity Nicolo. I'm doing a big charity walk next month, but that, you know, they've grown up with alcoholic parents and their lives are just, they need rebuilding, you know, it's awful really, but no one ever talks about it on documentaries, do they? It's always glorifying. And I think this is why we need to, you know, without judgment, just talk about it so people can think differently about it rather than the normalized conversations we have around drinking. Like on cigarette packets, you see the most awful images, don't you?
Yeah.
And there was a guy on my podcast called Dan Sheridan, and he had a liver transplant, young guy, and he put a picture on my grid of the scar of his liver, like of his where he'd had the liver transplant. That should go on the side of a bottle, not drink. Drink aware do one, and it puts us like it's the most ridiculous warning. Drink mindfully or whatever it is. You know, it's like what?
Yeah.
So basically, if you don't, it's your fault. You know, it's
Right.
just wrong. It should change. And I think Australia and Ireland are changing the labelling, but people need to be more aware of how dangerous it is. There's a little rant there for you, isn't it, for 5 minutes?
No,
I
and I
love
appreciate
it.
it because I think today, like, let's just say alcohol was invented today, it would never go anywhere.
No.
There's no way in hell it would go
Yeah, I mean,
anywhere if it came out today.
I don't know how it is there, but even here, as a mom, like I remember at a certain point in my pregnancy, people being like, "Oh, you can have a glass of wine now," or when I was nursing, say, "Oh, have some beer because it helps with the production of milk," and or like pumping and dumping, like, "Oh, you can drink this much," and then pump and dump and all of that stuff. And we've talked about this a lot on previous podcasts, like mommy wine culture. Taking this is mommy's juice and all of that, like. All of those little things. I mean, there are doctors, like medical professionals who people really trust who are saying, it's good to have 2 glasses of red wine a night for your heart. No, it's not.
No.
Why are we still telling people this?
I
Why are
know.
we still telling women you can drink when you're pregnant? No, you can't. Like, there's no safe amount of alcohol,
No.
like ever.
I'll give
Like,
you a
there's
stat, an alarming stat. So my ex-wife, she had cancer 3 times, right? And she would still drink. And I went to a charity do, and it was just, it was a free bar. Everyone was drinking like the clappers, yet they had cancer, right? And the risk of reoccurrence of breast cancer is 30% if you drink alcohol.
Wow.
30%, right? So why are doctors, oncologists not saying to them, look, enough's enough now? Because you're
can't drink
risking getting
anymore.
reoccurrence by 30% if you drink. And that's not like large amounts. That's that any alcohol can raise your chances of reoccurrence of breast cancer by 30%. That's ludicrous. Why isn't that on all the advertising? Like, it's nowhere to be seen. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's 2026 now,
It is. I mean, we tell diabetics you can't eat too much sugar because, like, if you get an infection, your body won't be able to heal as well. I mean, basic things. It's so true. There's no amount of, we don't go around to people and be like, you can smoke meth like a couple times a day and you'll be fine. But it's the same. And again, I said before, we're not missionaries for sobriety in the sense that I'm not telling anybody to not drink because it's not a judgmental space, but just, be thoughtful. Look at the science behind it. Listen to the stories. Even if you need to stop, but you're not there yet. Not for me, knowledge is power. If I see something and it's confusing or it's too much or I don't know what to do, even if I'm not ready to make a change, I will read, I'll do research, I'll talk to people. And that's not even a call to action. You don't even have to change anything. Just stop and listen and read and arm yourself with information. Because if you do, you learn a lot of things. And as much as we love social media because it provides a platform and presence, don't take everything for face value. We teach our daughter this too. Be respectful, but just because someone is of authority doesn't mean that they're like divinely right. You're allowed to ask questions, be a critical thinker, form your own opinions. These are things that we teach little kids. We don't want our kids, we don't let anyone under 16 drive a car. We don't leave children alone at home under a certain age because they could set the house on fire. These are like basic fundamentals that as we age, we have a tendency to like provide distance, like we forget or we just make allowance for this behavior when really like it's just take care of your body and yourself and the things around you. It's very fundamental, but we've made it so glorified and so you're so right, so romanticized. Like every rom-com you see is, they meet, she's at a bar, he's at a bar, or they're at a bar, or, they go out and they, have a bottle of wine and they get a little tipsy and they go back to their room and it's this thing. That's just not how it is. We met at a bar and on the outside we can make it look that way, but no, it was not. I love him and I am so glad it worked out for us, but 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. Okay. Do not do what we did. We are the 0.0000001% chance. Like, I love you, but whew,
Yeah, that's tough.
I wouldn't, I don't recommend anybody start there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's for
we all
damn
want to
sure.
hear
Yeah.
that story now.
No, we'll talk about everything
That's
from
right.
like 3 years ago on. Okay.
Okay.
The one thing you said, Dave, and I tell everybody this that's asked me about my sobriety is, I've never met someone that regretted getting sober.
No.
That is the most true statement I think any of us could possibly
it's
say. I
absolutely
love
true.
it.
Yeah.
Everything in your life gets better. I mean, you got sober. I would say we fell in love. Like we thought we were in love before, but that was just a watered down version of it. Right.
Yeah. 100%.
And my brother was in active addiction for 20 years. He's been sober now for 6 years. He's opened so many hospitals for detox and intake. And I mean, his life has become just so beautiful and so many amazing things are happening for him. I mean, I can't think of one bad thing that has happened as a result of the people in my life, including myself, getting sober.
100%.
Not one. Not one.
Well, Dave, before we get to the last question, which is my favorite part of the show, go ahead and tell everybody again where they can find you, where they can find your podcast, your book, all the things.
Sure. So Instagram is Sober Dave. And I've got my link tree on there, which has got all my links there. But podcast is One for the Road. That's on most platforms. Book's the same, One for the Road. So it's a memoir part help book. Just Google Sober Dave. I mean, everything comes up, literally. Things that I don't want to come up comes up when you Google Sober Dave. Honestly, some of the things people have put in the search bar is like, why would you want to know that?
That's right.
Like, you can just find me on the internet. You put in David Wilson and a million things comes up. Like Sober Dave, it's like
Sober Dave.
Jesus
It's like
Christ. It's like I'm an open book, isn't it? Really.
I love it.
I mean, it's very freeing when you have nothing to hide.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is it.
It is.
This is
Yeah.
it.
Nothing to worry about.
And it works, because, like I have a backstory and, like luckily I'm with a wonderful partner now and she knows my story and there's no issue there. Like we all got a past, haven't we? And this is what makes us able to tell our story to help others is by being transparent about everything,
Yeah.
Oh,
100%.
yeah. And looking back and giving allowance for some humor.
That's right.
And recognizing that some of those moments created some very interesting memories.
That's right.
Yeah.
And speaking of your past, that's what our last question has to do with. So if you can just give us an funny old drinking story that you have from your past.
Something that you think back and it just makes you either laugh or go, God, I was an idiot, or just.
So when it was probably a year before I stopped drinking, I used to live in a quite affluent area in South London. There was a lot of celebrities that would live around there, and we had a lot of chefs. And Gordon Ramsay lived there, over the road, kind of thing, over on the common. And I was out with my son drinking, and he was going home. And I thought, I don't want to go home yet. It was Sunday about 7 o'clock and I've been drinking all day and I was in a rebellion mood. So he dropped me at this terrible old pub and I went in there and it was like a Western where the music stops. When the ranch doors open and it all stops, and they all looked at me, but I didn't care. I ordered a load of booze in there and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go to the supermarket, buy 2 bottles of wine and a load of donuts. So I bought the wine and a packet of Yum Yums. I don't know if you get Yum Yums, but they're like donuts in like a big fat finger shape. And I went and sat right opposite Gordon Ramsay's house against this tree, right? And I was drinking out the bottle of wine. I was absolutely gone. Anyway, what I hadn't told you was when I was younger, I had my front teeth kicked out playing football, right? And I'd always had like caps and they kept falling out. So I had some implants done. And they didn't work. So I ended up having like false dentures at the front until I could get the implants to set. So I'm looking at Gordon Ramsay's house, swearing like a madman, like, oh, you've got it all. And look at me like a real victim, right? Eating these donuts, drinking the wine. Next thing, I woke up at home in the morning, kids getting ready for school. I was face down on the flipping lounge floor, wooden floor, in my coat. I have no idea how I got home. And they're like, oh my God, look at him like that. And I've got up and they said, oh, where's his teeth? So I was like, where are my teeth?
Where are they?
So we had a little chihuahua, right? And I thought, well, the chihuahua's picked my teeth up and run off with them. So it's Monday morning, right? People walk into work and I'm without any teeth. I had to have a shower and go to work. So I'm pulling the sofa apart and I thought, well, I've got to do it. I've got to walk back over to the tree opposite Gordon Ramsay's house. And there was the 2 empty bottles of wine, half an empty packet of Yum Yums, and my teeth.
And your teeth.
By the tree. and I swear to God, I've never been so happy in such a diabolical mood in all my life, of hungover from hell, people just looking at me like a tramp walking towards his tree. And I thought a fox could have nicked him because he'd eaten it. I don't know. But it was just such a revelation that I saw these teeth by the flipping tree. So I'll never forget that tree. Whenever I see it, it's like...
Yeah. People looking at you, you're like, I'm just
tree.
looking for my
That's
teeth.
a
It's
look
fine.
for my
Just
teeth.
looking for my teeth.
Yeah,
Found them. Found them. We're good. We're good.
Yeah, so that was probably one in a million stories, but
there's one for you. That's great.
Yeah,
I love
I'm trying to picture it in my head, and it's pretty fantastic.
That's
the story I'm playing in my head is pretty good. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear your story and get to know you a lot better, especially with somebody that's listened to a lot of your podcasts. It changed this boy's life. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And thanks for asking me on. It's been a real joy.
Awesome. We will link your podcast. We do have an Amazon storefront where we have all of our guest books on there. So we'll have all of your information and where to find you and all the good stuff.
We
appreciate you so
much.
Dave.
Brilliant. Have a wonderful day and congratulations on your sobriety as well, both of you.
Same to you. Thanks,
too.
Dave. Talk to you soon.
Sure.
All right. If you love the podcast, which I know you do, please like, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell to
Boom.
get notified every time we post.
That's right. Dropping them, baby. Word.